So it's important you see all the depth is potentially there. And I'm going to use people's examples. So I'm going to go through the chart with everyone's examples. There's not a lot of the extreme examples that can happen with it, that do happen, that I've run across with clients and things, because we're all studying and we have things. There are things, but we don't have anybody in the class who's got Mercury retrograding completely, or Mars retrograding completely for in that period. It's all a bit at the very beginning or a bit at the end of one's life. But if someone's in a violent, oppressive, and abusive situation, or is perpetrating that, or is working in an oppressed situation and has been there for 20 years or so, you're going to want to look at the progressed Mars. When does it turn? When do they get out of it? Why doesn't someone leave a difficult situation? Why does someone perpetuate it? How come some people don't get the karma that seems to be due right away? How come they get away with things for a while? When does it turn? So these stories are in this progressed Mars. Your attitude to strength. You know, so if someone's a fighter, is ready to fight, you see the attitudes to what you're ready to fight. You can see it changing that. If someone's an athlete, then the competitions they want to take it. If someone's just, someone's got a family and kids, they got their kids making kids, they have the kids to take care of, they have the things to do, they have a job to keep that things to do to take care of that. And what you're doing is your Mars, your attitude to what you're doing, that's the signs and the progressions of the Mars. So, okay, here's sample number 2, July 5th, Cancer. You have the Cancer with the Aries moon and the Virgo rising, most stuff above the horizon. But her Mars is conjunct Neptune, which makes it sometimes fanatical, sometimes evasive, sometimes Neptune tends to weaken the Mars or fanaticize it or make it dreamy or gullible or evasive. And it's opposing Venus. So finding out what relationship, who I'm going to be with, where I'm going to be, is it because I believe, I don't know enough, I can't remember enough, but this is the puzzle around who do I want, how long basically do I really want this, don't I want this? This is that the Venus opposing the Neptune and the Mars, getting into things, one you don't want, now what do you do, where are you going? So there's puzzles around the Mars to start with. That's her Mars in the 3rd house, trying to understand how come they did this and this happened or this didn't happen, or this is this puzzle, where do I put my energy? So the Mars, her Mars, kind of like mine, is in the 3rd house, moves along, hits the 4th house, and goes along, makes several big aspects, and ends up, if she lives to 2067, it'll end up opposing her Sun. So we'll get a little closer to this, but your chart is going to bring up, you see how your Mars is working. And we see the Neptune and we see the Venus, so we're not going to have the story to confirm this, but the person will know how it is, and it's going to build up, and that's going to how this evolves, and how when now fortunately her Mars is on the opposite side of it's moving away from the Neptune. It's not good. It's not backing up into it. So it's like if the Neptune were on the other side, Mars would be increasing. It would be getting more and more different, more and more different, building more into the Neptune puzzle until it hits the Neptune, then take a number of years before it finished with it. Here, it started with where one, just when one was born and one's growing out of those circumstances. But again, it went down till it hit the IC in like 2025 from 69. So that's still just coming up, this IC, this turning point. Take a look at it closer here. Now where Mars actually, oh, I know, we got to pull out the charts 1 second. Here we go. So we have we can see it against the background of the printout. If you did the printout with WinStar, you did the printout with other computer programs, you'll have the dates. You won't have it going so deeply. You won't have every degree. You won't have all the subdivisions, but you will have the aspects. You'll have the aspects you have when it changes houses. You'll have all the main things that we're putting together to follow on this. Now, in this chart, she starts with her Mars retrograde. So if she's born, her Mars is retrograde and moving back into this Neptune aspect, moving back towards it. but it really doesn't go so far. It doesn't even go back into Scorpio, which would have been very intense, but it just backed up. It backs up. You see it here, 143, 143, 142. So she's 2.5 years old, 3 years old, and Mercury goes, and Mars goes direct. It stops being much weight. Now in my program, the R's keep going. It was a fault in the program, a glitch in it. So when you ever see the retrogrades or the station or stations, it's a puzzle with all different programs because it's slowing down point. Different programs come out, different timings for this, but you watch to see when it changed, and it would change a little bit earlier. I highlighted it, 71, 72, was at its stationary point, and then it started going forward. So she was born in 69, 2 and 3 years old. That went back as far into this confusion as possible. Then it started turning around. There's a lot of stuff in the family you grew up in. Maybe his third house, brothers and sisters, hard to know. It's come up. Then it started going forward. And it came back to conjunct the Mars again in 74. At 4 years old, her Mars came back and conjuncted itself. It still was within a few minutes the whole time, but it came back and conjuncted itself. So by the time she starts preschool or kindergarten, or she just really, her energy started to pick up a lot better. And also in this time, as it was backing up that little bit, it was moving a bit closer to the opposition to Venus. So you might have had a colicky or an angry kid going on for a couple of years. But then it came back, it started, and things started to go forward. So it might have been a health thing. It's hard to know what happened at that point. But when it started going forward, there was no more big aspects. It's just straightforward through Sagittarius. It's going through the Pentens, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. So it gets to the IC, which is not there yet. It's going to get there in 2025. Okay, so in that process, it trined the moon in 81. So it has the aspects on the printout. Before there's not really any big one things that stand out until 2025 when it conjuncts the IC that poses the midheaven. So since Mars only moved half a sign, she's born in 69. I think that's 69. Yeah, 69. And so that's 30 years. She's 55 by the time Mars hits her IC. She's ready to fight the system and start her own life. And I got to do this. She's coming into this now. She's probably within, let's just see, she's within a degree of that. So here we are, 2019. It's at 1441. No, it's 3 degrees away. So it's moving fairly. It's sitting there 15. So it goes into 16 degrees and 22. So it's got a couple of degrees to go. It's moving as it's moving on, looking up to as it's coming up to this IC point. It's moving fairly fast. So it's going direct and moving fairly fast here. So it's only spending about 3 or 4 years in a degree. 3 years in a degree. Okay, so she's just 2 degrees away from this. So you're already feeling this. And as she's doing this, she's studying astrology. She's adding new things to her life. That's worth living for. Mars is hitting in her IC. It's not opposing the midheaven. She can't be doing things just for career. And that's what's her life about. There's a need to do something deeper, something more serious, something that she feels secure with. And increase her knowledge, increase her depth. The desires are moving in that direction. Okay, so she's coming up. So this class is a very profound time taking these classes. And it's going to be finished the end of this year. Then she's got to work with it and see how much what she does with it. And a lot of people learn astrology. They add another healing skill that adds with it, and they work the two together. I'm more the pure astrologer. I've done astrology as my career and astrology for 50 years, and almost 50 years. 40. Started 70. Okay, so here we are. It's almost, yeah. So we're at 49 years. So yeah, it's okay. But this, that's the other thing too. We usually remember stuff by our age, but by the charts we have to work it to the dates and get used to the years. When this year and that year, not instead when I was this. So you can put the years around this just to have this in brackets to add to your memories. Remember, I was this age at that time, or add it every now and then along your printout. But I get used to working with the dates. It's a little bit more real and specific. and you're trying to get from your memory of ages to the actual dates when things happen. It makes it more common to us all, working it to the calendar. Okay, so this pushing for depth. Then after it gets past that, it's going to square the ascendant. As the next aspect makes October 34. No, it's not 34. It's going to square the ascendant in 29. Usually it could be close apart, but that's in 29. So 25, 4 years later, squares the ascendant. The next big one is in 34. Here it is, 34, October 34. It's going to square Pluto. So that's a big chance. 34, that's 45. You're talking 50, 53, 54. That's, that's like menopausal reality, or what's next in return, where am I going next, what's happening then. So then there's some stronger challenges about what you're doing. It's not how you're thinking. This is Mars. So as you add it, I'm going to have to do this, I'm going to have to do something, I have to make a change, I'm going to have to do something. It's tied up with where one's living, what one's doing. Do I downsize, do I build up, do I move, whatever. So something makes them forced up. Like it could be construction on the street, it could be neighbor from hell, it could be hard to know. You're still going to have, that's hitting Pluto and Mars. Some confrontation is going to be there. It could be something as simple as mom got sick and you have to bring her in the house and you have to work like anything to take care of her. Okay, then by 2039, it opposes Mercury. So then that's going to be an inner anger, restlessness. I'm trying to do things, and it's an argumentative time. But you're acting on this. So the challenge at that point is to not let the anger guide the actions. There's an inner struggle to deal with that. In 45, so that's essentially 75, her Mars will come up and square Jupiter. So that could be traveling, it could be a big move, a big change. It certainly is going to exaggerate the energy of what one can do or can't do. One's having to understand one's energy better at that time. And maybe there's a struggle you're putting up with other people where you're living. Still fourth house. Then it moves into Capricorn. And in 47, where are we here?